Welcome to this video on Stoicism. I'm Andrew Chapman. I'm a professor of philosophy, and I'll be your guide. To accompany this video, I've created a handout that covers the content of the video in broad swaths, and I've put a link to the handout in the video description. It may be helpful to have this handout in front of you while watching the video. And now on to Stoicism. Stoicism is a school of Hellenistic philosophy founded by Zeno of Citium in the 3rd century BCE. It teaches that the highest good is a life guided by virtue and aligned with the rational order of the universe. By cultivating self-control, wisdom, and fortitude, Stoics seek to master destructive emotions, focusing on what lies within their power to change and calmly accepting what does not. The result is a condition of inner tranquility in which one remains steadfast amid life's fluctuations. Stoicism is known for its practical orientation, with a substantial emphasis on everyday exercises that help individuals put its teachings into action. Over centuries, it has influenced disciplines as varied as ethics, psychology, leadership, and personal development. Stoicism arose in Athens during a time of political fragmentation and cultural transition following the empire-building conquests of Alexander the Great. With the old polis structure shifting under new Hellenistic kingdoms, individuals felt the need for a philosophy that could address daily anxieties and moral dilemmas in a rapidly changing world. Zeno began teaching in the Stoa Poikile, the painted porch, from which the school of Stoicism draws its name. Stoicism quickly found an audience amongst people facing uncertain social and economic conditions, offering them a method to achieve self-possession through reasoned thinking. Later, when the Romans absorbed the Greek world, Stoicism crossed into Roman culture, thriving amongst statesmen, military officials, and intellectuals who prized its counsel on duty, endurance, and ethical reflection. Despite evolving through several phases, that is, early, middle, and late Stoa, the philosophy retained its central idea that virtue, guided by reason, constitutes the sole foundation of true happiness. Stoicism's significance lies in the profound influence it exerted on ancient moral thought and on its enduring capacity to speak to those seeking equanimity in turbulent environments. Zeno of Citium laid the foundational principles of Stoicism, but the school was further shaped by subsequent thinkers. Cleanthes, who succeeded Zeno, stressed devotion to reason as a unifying principle and preserved the core teachings. Chrysippus, often considered the architect of the system of Stoicism, solidified Stoic logic and ethics, developing sophisticated arguments about the nature of human freedom, the role of faith, and the pursuit of virtue. Chrysippus's influence was so substantial that later commentators observed if there had been no Chrysippus, there would be no Stoa. In the Roman period, Stoicism found powerful advocates. Seneca, a statesman and dramatist, explored how Stoic ideals could guide one through life's trials, from handling wealth responsibly to accepting mortality with composure. Epictetus, a former slave-turned-teacher, emphasized that real freedom rests in one's own will, urging students to recognize the difference between what they can control, that is, their judgments and actions, and what they cannot, that is, external events and other people's choices. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor, recorded his personal reflections in the text Meditations, contemplating how to lead with justice and restraint, and how to remain unshaken by either acclaim or adversity. Central to Stoicism is the idea that the universe is governed by a rational principle, or logos, and that human beings, as rational creatures, find fulfillment by living in accordance with this cosmic order. Virtue is identified as the sole true good, and vice as the only true evil. Everything else, health, wealth, reputation, and even life's pleasures, are considered indifferents, that is the plural of indifferent, that do not define a person's moral worth. This outlook leads Stoics to cultivate wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation through reflective practices and self-discipline. They employ logical reasoning to examine their emotions, recognizing that feelings of distress or anxiety often stem from mistaken judgments about what is truly valuable. A key objective is to achieve apatheia, traditionally translated as freedom from passion, but more precisely understood as freedom from destructive or irrational impulses. Rather than eradicating emotion, Stoicism aims to moderate it by subjecting one's impressions to rational scrutiny. Stoicism has gained renewed currency in modern contexts, particularly for its practical methods of managing stress, uncertainty, and psychological distress. Many notice parallels between Stoic techniques and contemporary cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, which likewise teaches individuals to reframe irrational thought patterns. Because Stoicism emphasizes focusing on what one can control, namely internal attitudes and actions, its techniques help people cope with loss, frustration, and fear of the unknown. In leadership development, Stoic concepts inspire ethical decision-making, resilience, and purposeful action, showing how a calm, principled mindset can foster stability even under high pressure. In personal development, Stoic strategies such as daily reflection, the premeditation of adversity, and the cultivation of gratitude serve as tools for self-improvement. Stoicism's clarity and discipline have thus made it a popular source of guidance for business executives, sports professionals, military personnel, and any individual striving for mental fortitude in a demanding world. Within the Stoic tradition, thinkers have long discussed how to best interpret key doctrines, especially with regard to fate and free will. Some emphasize the rigorous determinism that arises from viewing the logos as governing all cosmic events, arguing that everything unfolds according to unbreakable rational laws. Others wrestled with the notion that humans must nonetheless exercise moral responsibility and choice, an idea that fueled detailed Stoic accounts of compatible free will operating within a fated universe. This internal conversation shaped debates over how to reconcile strict causality with a Stoic mandate for ethical effort. Another prominent issue within the movement concerns the exact meaning of apatheia and how far emotional detachment should go. While some Stoics interpreted it as near total indifference to external matters, others preferred to stress that certain passions, if guided by reason, such as empathy or righteous indignation, have a legitimate role in virtuous action. These discussions influenced how different Stoic teachers approached moral development, with some taking a more austere stance on emotional restraint, and others acknowledging that appropriately directed emotions could reinforce the practice of virtue. Stoics also held varying views on the scope of indifference, again the plural of indifferent, especially regarding the distinction between preferred indifference, like health or wealth, and dispreferred indifference, like illness or poverty. The movement's ongoing internal debates explore how these factors, though not inherently good or bad, might still be chosen or avoided as long as doing so remained in accordance with virtue and reason. From outside the Stoic tradition, critics often charge that its emphasis on emotional control risks promoting a cold or detached attitude toward life. Detractors argue that by urging people to accept fate and maintain serenity under all conditions, Stoics might become complacent in the face of social injustices or personal suffering. Stoic philosophers counter that rational engagement with one's circumstances does not preclude compassion or active involvement in societal affairs. They view emotional mastery as a tool for more effective action, contending that clear-headed individuals can address problems more diligently than those consumed by anger or despair. Another external criticism questions whether the Stoic ideal of virtue is too exacting or unrealistic, given human psychological complexity and the challenges of everyday relationships. In response, proponents of Stoicism insist that the search for moral excellence is a lifelong journey, with each incremental improvement bringing real benefits in terms of inner peace and principled behavior. They argue that while perfection may remain aspirational, striving for it steadily refines one's character and fosters resilience. Some also claim that the Stoic worldview, anchored in a cosmic rational order, is less compelling in a modern scientific context that no longer portrays the universe as guided by providential reason. Stoics reply that their ethical practices do not hinge on accepting a specific cosmology, but rather on recognizing that virtue depends on the disciplined use of reason, which remains as relevant now as it was in antiquity. Even those who do not share ancient Stoic metaphysics can adopt Stoic exercises to cultivate mental composure and ethical coherence. Stoic thought has left its mark on ethics, psychotherapy, organizational behavior, and political theory. In ethics, it contributed to the broader tradition of virtue ethics, centering moral life on character formation rather than on rigid rule following. In psychology, ideas about dissecting negative judgments and regulating emotional responses echo Stoic approaches, forming a lineage to therapeutic techniques used in counseling and clinical practices. Management experts and leadership coaches often cite Stoic principles when formulating frameworks for effective leadership and conflict resolution. The notion of cosmopolitanism, championed by Stoics who believed all human beings participate in the same rational community, has informed discussions on universal human rights and global citizenship. Stoicism's appeal in the modern world continues to grow, fueled partly by popular authors, online communities, and public figures who share personal accounts of drawing upon Stoic concepts to navigate life's difficulties. Contemporary Stoic practitioners often adapt classical texts, proposing simple yet powerful exercises such as negative visualization and daily journaling to train the mind towards steadiness and perspective. Workshops and conferences devoted to applying Stoicism's core teachings to present-day challenges draw a diverse audience, ranging from career professionals and students to retirees looking for philosophical orientation. This resurgence attests to the enduring resonance of Stoic wisdom, the call to focus on internal virtue, maintain equanimity in the face of adversity, and assume moral responsibility as an active participant in the world. Stoicism's legacy is vast, influencing religious thought, philosophical movements, and practical ethics across Western history. Its emphasis on personal virtue, rational reflection, and the quest for moral autonomy laid foundational principles for later schools of ethics and shaped dialogues in early Christianity and beyond. The Stoic conviction that self-mastery is inseparable from civic duty informed discussions of justice and personal responsibility, contributing to ideas of moral citizenship that continue to evolve in contemporary political and ethical discourse. From Marcus Aurelius's Meditations to modern cognitive behavioral strategies, Stoicism has repeatedly surfaced as a resource for individuals seeking guidance on how to endure hardship without succumbing to bitterness or despair. Its impact endures precisely because it marries philosophical clarity with actionable methods for self-examination and character development. While ancient in origin, Stoicism remains a living tradition that speaks to modern needs for resilience, ethical clarity, and a sense of purpose. In conclusion, Stoicism is a practical and enduring philosophy that underscores the power of virtue, reason, and emotional moderation in achieving a flourishing life. Rooted in ancient Greece and enriched by Roman thinkers, it teaches that human beings find real freedom and happiness by centering their efforts on what lies within their control while accepting the nature of a larger cosmos that may be governed by fate. Its internal debates range from reconciling determinism with moral responsibility to discerning the appropriate measure of emotional expression. Externally, it faces critiques about emotional detachment and potential quietism, but Stoics maintain that clear-headed self-governance leads to more compassionate and effective action. Its legacy thrives in the present day, informing everything from therapeutic techniques to ethical and leadership practices. Through its clear-eyed counsel on fortitude, self-knowledge, and rational living, Stoicism continues to offer an illuminating path for those seeking tranquility and moral strength in a complex, often unpredictable world.